Hello, hello, hello. My name is Attorney LaKanya Murray. I am the small business attorney, and I help clients throughout the United States with trademark, copyrights, and business development solutions. Today is Tuesday. I know it's not Thursday. We're coming to you on a Tuesday just to give a little follow-up. If you're following us on Facebook and on Instagram, you saw that we posted a tip of the day, and that tip was that hiring an independent contractor doesn't automatically make the work they do a work for hire. The reason that I posted that tip is because oftentimes you hear me say, just because you pay for it, does it make it yours? We talked about it yesterday. You can catch the live stream video from yesterday. And so that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So if you are here, make sure you throw up some emojis so that I can know you're here. If you're catching us on the replay, make sure you drop a note in the comment section and let us know that you were here and say hi, because I would love to know. Okay? So here we go. So oftentimes, like I said, you hear me say that just because you pay for it doesn't make it yours. And people say, well, what about a work for hire? Isn't that a work for hire? If I hire someone, if I commission someone to do some work for me, won't I own the copyrights to it? Because that's what we're essentially talking about in this subject. Do you own your own graphics? And if you hire a third person to do your graphics for you, whether those graphics are for your logo, whether it's for a shirt design that you have, whether it's for a coloring book that you're illustrating, whether it's illustrations in your book that you're working, or even on something that you're doing for your website, or just anything, whether it's a graphic designer, whether it's a photographer, or anybody of that nature, if you hire them, they're the person that's taking the idea that you have in your head and bringing it to life. And before that reason, they are the owner of that copyright. And the exception to that is twofold. One, if that person is an employee doing the work in the scope of their employment, meaning I always give the example, let's say, for example, I work at McDonald's and my job is cashier. If as a cashier I come up with a logo for McDonald's, and they like it, I still own the copyright to it because I created it, and the creation of the logo was not in the scope or within the scope of my employment. However, if I work there and I am in the marketing department and that's part of my job description, then they would own that work. And this is a really important concept. We talked about it yesterday, how Walt Disney had a studio that was doing really well. He was up to like 20 employees, and basically his partner cut him out, took all of the employees and signed them on to another contract, and they took all their work they did with them. So all the animations that they had created, they owned. And a lot of the copyright laws that we have now are because of the lobbying that Walt Disney has done on their behalf. But anywho, so if they create it for you, they own it, unless they are the employee doing the work in the scope of their employment. Or the second exception is whether if it is a work for hire. So work for hire, and it doesn't, just because you hire somebody to do some work for you, does it make it a work for hire. There are 9 categories that are limited, specific categories that classify as work for hire. And so I'm just going to go over those with you and read from my handy dandy list. And so if you hire someone for any of these 9 purposes, and, because there is an and, you must have a written agreement stating that it is a work for hire, then you have a work for hire agreement. Otherwise, you have an independent contractor agreement, and you will need to have a copyright assignment agreement to transfer their rights and ownership to you. So, independent contractor, if you want to commission work for you, if they're doing the work, if it's going to be a contribution to a collection of work, so that would count. If they are creating that work as part of a motion picture or an audiovisual work, if it is a translation, if it is a supplementary work, a compilation, an instructional text, meaning like a textbook, a test, or answer material for a test, and the last one is an atlas. It has to be one of those 9 things in order for it to qualify as a work for hire. And even if it is one of those 9 things, if there's not a written agreement to accompany that, then it's not a work for hire. They still own the ownership. They still own the rights to it. So long story short, one thing you should get out of this, you should always have a written agreement. Always have a written agreement that lays out the definition or your relationship with the person you're working with. What's really got a phone call. If you're a contractor, just have it down in writing. Who owns the copyrights? And sometimes, depending on the work, I know when I spoke at the conference in New Orleans, some of the photographers were like, we don't want to assign our copyrights, but they will license it to you. And so licensing, so a copyright assignment will give you all of their rights that they have, that the owner has, so they will invest it in you as a copyright assignment. If you get a license, the license is going to limit how you can use that work. You'll still be able to use it, but what they're saying is you won't have full ownership, meaning that you don't have the power to exclude. You might have a limit on how you can use the work. Maybe you can use it for personal, but you can't use it for commercial. Or maybe you can use it just a certain way in commercial. Maybe you can use it on your website, but you can't use it on a billboard. It just depends on what the license says. So that's one of the main takeaways you should get, is that written agreements are our friends. We love written agreements, right? Contracts makes us happy. And the second thing that you just absolutely need to know, that whenever you're working with a third party, is that you need to have an upfront conversation about copyrights, because copyrights are assets. They're intellectual property. They can be used to increase your bottom line, and you really need to own that so you can have a say-so on how it's republished, how it's performed, and how it shows up. Okay, so that is my tip of the day. The tip of the day, just to repeat, is that hiring an independent contractor does not make them or automatically make it a work for hire. All right? Thank you for joining me for today's tip of the day. Remember, if you have any questions about copyrights, trademarks, or business development, you can absolutely schedule a consultation with me by going to bit.ly/10 MIN consult. So 10-minute consult. The minute is abbreviated. So 10 MIN consult. And I would love to talk with you. Okay? Talk to you later.